this spotlight, I'm pleased to welcome Ms. Nasma Alkhafif, a Montessori consultant and mentor and an AMI certified educator whose work spans classrooms, leadership teams, and family communities. I invite anyone who's interested in early childhood as an educator, leader, or parent to join this conversation and listen to her thoughtful perspectives. Together, we explored what makes early learning environments calm, connected, and supportive of children's growth and development, how adults can support children's agency, the role of trust with families, and the thoughtful use of technology. We also talked about her vision behind the AI-powered Montessori operating system, Koni. Join us and listen to this session. Hello, Nasma. How are you doing? And thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rana, for having me. I'm so excited for our conversation today.
It's a real pleasure having you. I'm the one who's excited, especially that the topic is a dear topic to many people's hearts. Anybody who's working with children, actually, all humans are interested in early childhood. So this is a very dear to our hearts topic. So thanks for joining us, Nasma. So Nasma, I would like to start off with giving you the opportunity to tell us about your journey. Who's Nasma and what got her into early childhood development, education, and Montessori story?
Yeah. So my name is Nasma Alkhafif. I was born and raised in Cairo, Egypt. Currently, I'm in Columbus, Ohio. I what brought me to into the Montessori world and the early childhood education. I started as a psychology student. I acquired my bachelor's in psychology, focused on child psychology. Um, And that's when I found I need to shift my career a little bit to focus on early childhood education instead of, um, uh, going to the counseling and therapist world. And
Okay.
through my research, I found the Montessori method, and I remember I was so excited to find a philosophy that aligns with child development and aligns with my personal values as well. And you when you find something that makes sense and you feel like, I wish everybody knows about this, and I wish I grew up on this philosophy myself. So there's a lot of like personal emotions with my decision, and also professional wise. When I came across the Montessori method, I decided to, obtain my training and be certified, and that's when I decided to move to Toronto at that time
Mhm.
to acquire my certification. And I remember my trainers were trained by Dr. Renelde Montessori,
Whoa.
who is the granddaughter of Maria Montessori. So they meant business. The
Nice.
training was very hard. Um, and I appreciate that because now it became ingrained in me and became like a second nature to me. Shortly after, I started working as an assistant guide, then a lead guide. I started classrooms, and then I wanted to shift my focus from working with children to working with adults, whether they are parents, caregivers, or educators. And I obtained my master's degree in childhood education. Um, and I started parent coaching and mentoring other educators as well. I then became a mother myself. So I started applying my experience and knowledge um, um, in my household and with my children from day one, and I can tell you it's a very different experience when you work with your own children
Oh,
and you get to face a lot of, not only what you learn but what you're learning about yourself, and the shift that happens to you as a human. Um so all I was very privileged, alhamdulillah, to wear so many hats in this space that it made me see all the challenges and what can be done in that space to help parents and to help caregivers bring the best for their children in care.
Amazing. Thank you, Nasma, for the overview. And you mentioned two things that I want to follow up a little bit on. When you mentioned that when you learned about the Montessori, you got interested because it sort of aligned with your values, beliefs, and you thought, I wish I was brought up that way or had something of that. What, specially in the Montessori philosophy and approach, makes it so unique for those who are not listening to us or don't know what it is? Or what's the thing that made it talk to you for those who do know about it?
Right. Yeah. So what the first thing that, attracted me to the philosophy that it believes that each child is unique and each child has their own needs. So there's no one size fits all. And this really spoke to me because the growing up, I felt like I'm the one who did not fit. And I wish somebody would have taken the time to see exactly what I need
Mm-hmm.
to be able to, reach my full potential. So this is what the philosophy stands for, that even Dr. Maria Montessori said, follow the child.
Nice.
So, you know, observing the child, seeing what do they need, what can we control in the environment, or what do we have control over to make sure that we remove the obstacles from the child's way to reach their full potential. Dr. Maria Montessori believed that us as human beings, we have the innate will and drive to learn. So we're not waiting for
Yeah.
to receive knowledge. We are actually learning. And but what happens is that we come and as adults, we are, we're with good intentions and we're trying to help, but sometimes our helping makes more problems. And the first thing that
Totally.
actually sparked my curiosity is that I learned that when there's a newborn or the infant is few months old and you see them like staring in the void, the first inclination that we get is like we want to like try to distract them or trying to stimulate them in
Mm-hmm.
any way. But then when I learned about child development is that what we're doing is we're actually harming them in a way, because when the child is just staring at the void, the brain is working and training itself to concentrate, to build that focus span. But when we, interrupt that, that's when
Yeah.
we are interrupting, the natural development. So this is the approach of the Montessori philosophy. How can we as an adult aid the development instead of, trying to control it?
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. And my next question was, as you were talking, you mentioned something about how when you started working with your own children, you noticed how things are like. What was that like? What's it different than working with other children?
Right. So with other children, you have this, sense of responsibility that you have to deliver that, to be of service, um, to be the guide that you were trained to be. But
Mm-hmm.
with your children, with your own children, there are a lot of deeper things that surface because they force you to look inwards.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of the philosophy again, to be a prepared adult and how to prepare yourself and how to face um, your own biases, your own, for lack of a better word, like traumas. And this becomes a complicated relationship, and going against the grain or going against everything that you've grew upon, or having people saying, what are you doing? They're just few days old. They won't be able to see it. They won't be able to feel it. Why are you talking to a baby? Like trying to push through and going against the tide. It is challenging. It is challenging. but I found it very grounding at the same time because I knew what to do next. Like, even though, all of these deeper emotions are there, all the struggles are there, but I knew what is the next step.
It's
Yeah.
amazing, Nasma, what you're saying, because the reason why I asked, me being a teacher myself and having taught kids like at school and then taught my kids and gave advice to, again, not within a Montessori approach or philosophy, but I was a science teacher. I always found it much harder to teach my kids, to work with
Mm-hmm.
them, because of the depth of emotions and because of the personal connection and that bias. And it's definitely not easy. And I'm sure anybody who's listening, who's a teacher themselves, would know exactly what we're saying and would relate.
Yeah, and if we look at it from our children's point of view, so I had to homeschool my children for a few years for different reasons. And when I took the decision to homeschool, I was so confident. I was like, I taught like dozens of children, like it's
Yeah.
gonna be a piece of cake. And I remember I was so excited. I built like a classroom in the house. I had a schedule. I, you know, I'm
Everything needed.
this is what I do. I think it took a few hours until I realized, oh wow, this is different
Hmm.
because I'm not only a teacher, I'm also the mother, but I am a mother first. And just wearing multiple hats and trying to go from this one to that one, it is hard, not only for me, but for my child. And I remember my daughter at the time, she was 4, I think, and she came to me one day and she's like, Mama, I don't want you to be my teacher anymore. I just want you to be my mom, my mama. And
Bibi.
and that's when, it hit me, and it was a wake up call that you cannot replicate school at home because
Hmm.
this is their home first before anything else. So how can I set up the environment to be inclusive, to feel like home, but also to be a thriving experience and learn through, doing throughout the day. So that was a learning journey for me, and it was a difficult one, but yeah, it was eye opening for sure.
Well, you definitely will. You definitely are touching on important aspects with relation to the school homeschooling, and maybe that could be a discussion for another day, because I know a lot of individuals, even in the Middle East, are starting to look at homeschooling as an option. I know it wasn't big previously, but a lot of individuals are. But talking about that environment, which I fully agree, it's a balance that is not easy to create, particularly with the younger children. So if we want to zoom in on early childhood, from your perspective and from your experience as a trained early childhood uh, professional with a Montessori philosophy, and your experience with your kids and your students who you taught, what makes an early learning space truly helpful and supportive for young children's growth and development? So, what are the key features that, if I'm a teacher, I need to keep to work on, and if I'm a mother, I need to look at as I'm
Mhm.
selecting that environment or creating that environment for the child?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So there are three main ingredients
Mm-hmm.
that can really help um, describe or help guide a parent or an educator on how to set up their learning program. Um, so the first key is the prepared adult. Like I mentioned, just to be able to be aware of yourself, to be conscious of your own um, your own skills, your own limitation, to be aware of yourself and to prepare yourself. So that's the preparing the adult. Uh, a prepared environment. So we want to set up the environment for the child's success. So let's take an example of a Montessori children's house classroom. So children's house classroom starts from 2.5 years old until 6.5 years old. When you enter that classroom, you're going to find everything that's child-sized, child-sized furniture, chairs, tables, um, everything in the environment is, we call it a yes environment. So everything in the environment, they are allowed to use, with, of course, within limitations, within boundaries, but they are allowed to use. We make sure that the environment is set up for their success in terms of, so put yourself in the child's shoes. If the child wants to sit and work with a material, for example, is there anything that will hinder their way to pull up their chair or sit on a chair? Can they reach the materials? Is there anything that will be in the way? So we want to make sure that we remove as much obstacles as we can to set up the environment for the child's success. So that's from an educator classroom perspective. When I talk to parents about setting up their environment, so it looks very different. And I always joke with my husband that if we had like a time lapse camera in our house, they're gonna see like furniture moving around, because every now and then we change, and we change the environment to make sure that it serves our children at that age.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that a lot of people will relate to what I'm going to say. Growing up in the Middle East myself, the house was treated as a museum growing up as a child.
Oh,
Like,
yes. Oh, yes.
so as a child, even though, well-meaning parents, and it was so like
Mhm.
chic and it's so nice, but you were not allowed to touch that. You're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to do that. And this kind of environment hinders the child's development, because the child is curious. Since
Curious.
since they're infants, they try to um, know information about the world through their senses, through touch, through taste, through,
Experience.
you know.
Experience the
So
environment.
e- exactly. So when we remove that environment from their experience, that influence their development and the way their self-view, like, I don't belong here. Like, so we want to make sure that we set up the house, we set up the home environment to be a yes environment, to make sure that the child is allowed to go to what we call in Egypt a salon. That
الصالون
it's
وقت
okay
السفرة.
to just so that just remove, during that time. If we look at, how many years we're gonna do that, they're very, very short years in a in
Mhm.
a in a human life. So if we want to make sure that we set up our home to be welcome to our children needs. Um, and the third aspect of a program is a curriculum, a comprehensive curriculum that not only serves the children in an academic way, but also helps them in social skills, in emotional skills, and help them be the best that they can be in their unique way, and be a successful adult in the future. So just these are the three main, I would say, aspects or ingredients for a successful early childhood program.
Thank you. You brought memories for me as I was growing up with the salon. Actually, the salon was the lecture space where we would be sat down to hear the lecture. If we did something wrong, that was the only
Mhm.
time we would go there, because the door would close. And then when I became a mom, because of the environment, this is how things were. The salon has to be ready for visitors to come. It's
Right.
not for us. It's not
Mhm.
for those living in the household. And I'm glad to know that there are some changes happening. The younger generation is doing a way better thing on that front. But I guess it's always helpful to be reminded, to be provided with the full guidance and understanding. Which brings me to my next question, where you talked about your interest in moving towards supporting adults as they are working with the children and your work with Childora. Can you tell us a little bit about Childora? What is it all about? What do you do there? And how can you help if anybody's interested in help from that front?
Yeah, definitely. So when I decided that I want to move my focus from working with children directly to working with adults, I started my own consultation platform where I do parent coaching or parent consultation, whether for expecting parents, for new parents, for seasoned parents, and also consultation for and mentorship for educators. So what there are some services that I offer for guides or educators, um, professional development, but also what I do is child studies. So a child study is, when a guide or a teacher, comes to her or to their, to their limit with a child and they don't know what to do, that's where a child study can come in, and I act as a thought partner and come up with strategies. We make sure that we look at all the angles to serve that child and to make sure that the child is getting what he or she needs. Um, it's always helpful to have an outside
Always.
perspective, especially as a teacher when you are in it every single day. It's very easy to miss a lot of signs. So when you have
Mhm.
somebody in your corner who wants the best for you and wants to support you, and understand what you're going through, can be very helpful. So mentorship, child studies, and I host workshops as well for parents and educators.
This is awesome. And that's why I'm so delighted that the younger generation has access to such services. And I'm so delighted that the technology is allowing us to connect across the world to offer such services because uh, when I was bringing my kids up, there was nothing other than a book, if I could manage getting a book. I'm talking about 1990. Lebanon was right out of civil war, and what to expect when you're expecting was not there even. So the
Yeah.
book, I know it's the Bible for many people,
Hmm.
but again, so at the present time, it's really helpful and good to know that those like such services are available. And with your experience, because I know like we talked earlier about the factors or what defines or what things we need to keep in mind, and you mentioned the three main factors. And I know that when it comes to supporting teachers or parents, you go and dive much deeper into really supporting them with listening, providing guidance, and giving ideas about what to be done. So, with your experience and at the present time, can you give us an idea about some of the challenges or the most pressing challenges parents or teachers are facing, and how can you help them through like through the brainstorming or whatnot? What are the biggest challenges they are facing nowadays?
So one challenge that I always find it very common with people I work with, whether parents or educators, um, it's there's a block of trying to learn something new about child development, because again, early childhood education or early childhood development is not only science, but you also have your own biases and your own emotions coming in. Um, Especially when I speak with parents, I hear that a lot. This is the way I grew up and I turned out to be fine. And this is a very heavy statement because what it tells me is that they feel like if they do something different, they'll be disrespecting their own parents or the way they
Their
grew up
own achievements.
and their own achievements as well. So I hear that a lot. And with that notion, it shows me that it's going to be very hard to go past that until we address this topic. So what I say is that the way I see generations is it's like a relay race.
Nice.
Every generation passes the baton to the next generation. So for you to do something different, that doesn't mean that the way you grew up was wrong. Absolutely not. They brought you to this point, but for you to go to the next point.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I try to, try to clarify because it is true. We grew up with the best intentions and with the resources, like you mentioned, the resources that was available at the time is
At the
very
time.
different than now.
Yeah.
And you can look at it in a different way as well because now we have an abundance of information and it actually conflicting
Oh, yes.
all the time. So it becomes very overwhelming. And for somebody who doesn't know where to go, feels like, okay, I'm just going to do what I know the way I was raised and that's it, and just becomes very reluctant to learn more or to know more. Another challenge I see is that the importance of early childhood, especially in the MENA region, we still don't have the awareness of how important these first 5 years or 6 years of life are. They are the foundation for the whole, for the whole human, for the rest of the life. So the awareness is not there. And I remember I had a conversation with somebody, and they were trying to tell me that I'm doing too much, and
Mm-hmm.
they were well meaning, and they wanted to tell me like you have to just children at this age, they're like pets. You just need to make sure that they are eating, they're playing, they're happy, and that's it. So this shows me how much work we need to do to create and raise that awareness that these first few years of life are extremely important. There is a concept in the Montessori philosophy that's called absorbent mind. So the theory is that the child from zero, and there are people who are arguing before zero, like from prenatal
Yes.
as well, the
Mm-hmm.
brain is like a sponge. It absorbs everything around them. It absorbs the everything in the environment, the language, the mannerisms, the emotions, and like just like a sponge, if we put a sponge in water, you're gonna have to squeeze it to see what's in it.
Yes.
So that's and it takes a long time for that squeeze to happen, but it is happening. And if we're not aware that it's happening, there's a lot of damage and a lot of missed opportunities that can happen. So, for example, you would see adults talking as if the child does not understand, or talking about the child as if the child is not understanding, but there actually are, and they're absorbing what's happening in their environment. So that's another challenge that I see. Uh, a third challenge is, and that's maybe specific to the Montessori philosophy. From a very young age, we try to, uh, like I mentioned, we set up the environment for the child's success, but we are trying to promote independence. So for the child to be independent. So of course we plant a seed, uh, depending on, the child's age.
Yes.
For example, you would see a Montessori trained or somebody with a child who maybe is 10 months old, and you would see me, for example, asking them, which one would you like to wear?
Yes.
Like two options. And it seems ridiculous because they're 10. They're 10 months old, so they still don't know. But we are planting the seed that you have
Mhm.
autonomy, you have the choice of what to wear. Um, and that grows with the child, and then they start, feeding themselves. They start, preparing their snacks or preparing their meals. They start cleaning after themselves. So I
Yes.
remember one time I was working in a classroom, and a parent came very angry. They were angry because they said,
I can see
"I'm
the
paying a lot of
emotions even before you tell me.
tuition." Yeah,
Hmm.
because I was still starting out, and that was shocking for me. But now I understand. I understand where were they coming from. They mentioned that they are paying a lot of tuition, and you're making my child clean the classroom. So that concept was shocking for me because I did not look at it this way before
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
So it took time to clarify. No, they're actually not. They might be actually making more mess, but what we're
More
trying to
mess.
ingrain is that it's their responsibility. We want to make sure that we take care of our environment, how to take care of ourselves. So these are the challenges that I've faced with, especially with parents. On the educator side, um, it's more of um, a bigger or on a systematic problem. Teachers don't feel supported, don't feel appreciated. Um, the work that's demanded is too much, and the you know the outcome is not does not match does not match their
Yeah.
efforts.
Yeah.
So this is where I see the biggest challenge with teachers, and I always try to make sure to lift that burden or lift that heaviness from them as much as possible, and how to make their um, their work more fulfilling, and what resources can they use to make sure that they to set them up for success as well.
Nasma, thank you. I was listening in awe. It's amazing because you've summed up a lot of things that are of extreme importance for anybody who's working with early childhood. And to be honest, not just early childhood, throughout the different stages within the K to 12 progress. Uh, with regards to when you were mentioning the how we were brought up, we bring up our kids. It's so true that many feel that way. But again, it's not. You mentioned something about uh, the resources we have now are different, and what came to mind is also the child's environment is totally different than what yours or mine or the previous generation. So the tools they have, the distractions they have, the opportunities they have. And you mentioned that the importance of these 5 years, one day we'll sit down and compare. But I know anybody who's listening will fully, for those who are working in education, will fully understand what we're saying. Uh, it's a shame that we have to convince everybody around, and I mean all stakeholders, not just parents.
Mhm.
It's the
Right.
parents, the leadership in certain schools. I'm not generalizing, but we still
Right.
have
Yeah.
particular schools, particular educational systems, and you feel
Mhm.
it being reflected even in the salaries. Early
Right.
childhood educators do not get paid. As you said when you finished, the outcome is not reflective of all the efforts that they put in. So we really need to change that mindset
Mhm.
because, yeah, the child, if we're not talking about uh, creating issues or problems, just missing on the opportunities with each and every child is an economic loss to any country, that on a bigger
Exactly.
scale.
Mhm.
So thank you for all this. And this brings me to the need to talk with each other, the need to work
Right.
as a team, whether we're talking about the system on the higher level of leadership, whether we're talking about admin at schools, teachers, and parents.
Mhm.
The need to have something of a synergy, communication, open lines of communication, trust between all of these stakeholders. Uh, how do you feel we need to navigate, or what advice do you have as we navigate and today's world where we're talking not just about children, we're talking about multicultural children in the same space. There's no country now that is united. We are united colors at the present time
Right.
everywhere. So
Mhm. Yeah, so it is it is a difficult question because it differs from, environment to environment, country to country. And what I can say is that trying as much as possible to bridge the gap between the home and the school. So if the school knows that, okay, what is our priority? Is my priority the child? If we agree on our priority, then how can we advocate? How can we support the child in our care? And how can we bridge that gap between school and home so we can have the home support and have that continuity in the child care, whether that's in home or at school, and have that open and transparent communication? It is not easy, especially, with a lot of, especially when we're talking to different stakeholders, whether the
yes,
leadership or the admin, that are who are not having the experience the day to day in the classroom and do not, maybe are not fully aware of what's happening inside the classroom, what's happening with the children, what are the teachers' needs. So I would say, starting with the teacher, knowing
okay,
exactly what they need and supporting them, because it's like a funnel. If you are, if you are making sure that the bottleneck is ready and is willing, then everything will go smoothly. But if we just ignore, the teachers and just try to make decisions on a leadership level without incorporating or including the people who are on the ground every day, I think that might hinder the progress, and might affect the quality of education that we're providing our children, our families.
thank you. I want to ask something that's controversial slash I don't know what to call it. uh, when we talk about collaboration or communication between home and school, particularly in early childhood education, there's this trend nowadays that the nursery, the school, the whatever needs to send home pictures and
Mhm.
uh, snapshots of what the child is doing, and it is in a report fashion to keep the family like this is the thing, so that everybody knows what's happening and the parents can feel comfortable that their kids are taken care of. uh, is it an overkill? Is this communication between home and school, especially when there are certain issues that need to be discussed? You find that, oh my God, the parent is not willing, or so what is the communication between school and home supposed to
Yeah,
be?
so as you mentioned, it is a controversial topic.
Yes.
Uh, and I get like when I think about this topic, I'm conflicted as well, because now
Mhm.
I'm looking at it from a parent perspective
Yes.
and a parent who has anxiety. So I want
Okay.
those pictures.
Okay, that's good. I'm
But
not saying don't. Hmm.
but I would say that if the communications are more intentional, so sharing, of course, to sharing a picture or to um daily, to make sure that your child is working, seeing them happy in the environment. But we want to be more intentional in leveraging this type of technology and communication in educating the parents.
Hmm.
So, for example, if I'm sending a picture of a child who is playing with another child, I can actually take an opportunity to say, well, this child, they had a conflict, and this is how we resolved it. um, Working with the parents in terms of giving them strategies, what to do next, what can they try at home. Because what we see is that for example, if we approach a parent and we tell them, well, your child doesn't listen. The parent feels helpless, like, and defensive. Like, what am I supposed to do?
Totally.
The child is not listening, or your child is hitting other children. And they get and the schools, they usually throw this responsibility on the parent, and it becomes overwhelming for the parent. It becomes hurt. They feel hurt because they want the best for their
Definitely.
child. They want their child to be on their best behavior, but they don't know. So what I try to encourage is that when we communicate with parents, we have to have a game plan. We don't need
Hmm.
for them to we don't wait for them to try to figure it out. We are a team. And the proverb that says, it takes a village to raise a child. So we are that village. No one can do the school, that cannot do it by themselves, or the parents, they can't do it by themselves. So we have to have this common interest and the collaborative nature, to help.
And this is an excellent example. And I strongly believe that it all goes back to the trust. We need to believe that we are the village, all of us. We're part of this village. Otherwise, nothing will work. And I liked when you were saying with the photos something about raising awareness or information on on the parents' side. So something that struck me, for example, we have a lot of photos when they are doing activities, not necessarily when they have conflicts with other kids. It could be a photo when they are coloring or using something of uh, a task for fine motor skill development,
Right.
a message with it saying, working on the motor skills, or explaining how this activity helps fine motor skills. This is awareness, and this goes beyond just, oh, this is a colored photo,
Right.
you know.
Right.
Exactly. So I like that. Thank you. Uh, so technology, it has to come into the discussion. Today, we
Right.
are in a time where, with all, like, confession time, I'm so glad my kids are all grown up before all this technology. Not because I'm against it, but,
Mhm.
well, it was easier to navigate, at least from that perspective. We had other problems to deal with. But in today's world, and with the technology that is all around, I know a big question is always, do we allow the children to work with technology or not? There's this big fear of screen time. How do we navigate while allowing them to develop without the negative impact, but still develop in the times that they are growing in,
Right.
not holding
Right.
them back with the tools
Mhm.
that they will have to work with?
Right. And that's a very good question and a huge topic. Um, the of course, the easy answer would be like, no technology, try not to, no screen time, and that this is not reasonable, not realistic at all. um I'll come back to the intention. So we can use technology with intention. Why is my child using the tablet, for example? Is my child If I'm giving my child who is 5 years old the tablet and free reign, well, that's going to be a very harmful experience. But for example, if I'm giving my child one of the apps that are available now, for example, to aid with reading or to help with uh, uh, um, we want to look at these opportunities as thriving opportunities instead of just, you know, I will need a break, take the tablet and just go.
Exactly.
We want to make sure that we are aware of what our children are exposed to and why they're using the the technology. Why are they doing, if they're doing it, if we know exactly what they're watching, why they're watching it, then I would say that's a very helpful and useful use of technology. If we're just giving, you know, like we as an adult do it, like the doom scrolling. If we're not
Yes.
being intentional on in what we are being exposed to, even as adults, you see and you feel the influence on you, and on your psyche and on your the way you focus. But if we think about it from a developing brain, that can be very damaging. So we want to make sure that whatever our children are exposed to is intentional, it's beneficial. And I love how the perspective of, you know, it is part of the age, it is part of our daily world. They need to know how to use them for their own benefit and how to set
Mhm.
them up for success. So it becomes part of the environment, becomes part of their environment growing up. So learning skills on how to navigate, you know, especially with the AI rising, how to know like the negative influences, how to use it in a positive way. All of these skills need to be taught to our children instead of just, you know, turning a blind eye and say, well, they're gonna learn, or um, they don't need like technology at all right now. So it just the caregivers that I work with, they're usually at the end of the spectrum. It's either, you know, free reign for all or nothing at all.
Exactly.
So we
Exactly.
want to make sure that we have a balanced outlook on technology and not seeing it as an enemy per se, but an aid and a tool for us to help our children.
To agree more. And the two ends of the spectrum, similar to anything else, any extreme is not healthy. Like whatever we are providing our kids, whatever experiences we provide them with, uh, the extreme is not healthy. Whether it is the iPad or the iPhone or even the building blocks, a child needs all types of experiences to grow and develop uh, the different aspects of their personality, their physical capacities, psychomotor skills, and whatnot. Again, it is a big debate. There's no right, wrong answer, I guess. We're all in this learning together. And I do believe that with time, we'll have more developmentally appropriate tools
Hmm.
that can be of help to the parents and the teachers to use with early years, because it's all about developmentally appropriate within the context of why you are using that, if I'm making sense.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. And we are modeling, first of all, to our children how to use the technology and our relationship to the technology. So I see it a lot, and I do that a lot.
We're
I'm
all
on
guilty
the
as
phone,
charged on
right?
occasions.
Yeah. I'm on the phone, you know, just scrolling, and then, you know, my daughter comes and tells me, "When will I have a phone?" And then I put my phone away, and I feel like, "You're too young for a phone." Well, I am modeling that this is very important, and this is a very, you know, a very constant thing in my life. So of course my children would want the same thing. So us modeling how our relationship to the technology will influence our children's relationship as well.
I love this, Nasma, because you sort of took us way to the beginning, full circle, with how your experience with learning about the Montessori, and you mentioned early on that it made you look inside and learn more about yourself as you are preparing for the children. So, yeah, I guess we always say teaching and learning and the profession of education is all about reflective practice. So, we do have to have that reflection throughout. Uh, this brings me to my final question for this interview about Koni, your AI-powered Montessori operating system. Can you tell us about it? What led to it? What are you hoping to do with it? And
Yeah.
yes, tell us.
Yeah, I'm very excited. So it's my it's my baby right now, so I'm very excited to
Nice.
talk about it. So through my, my career so far, I've seen, like I mentioned, the importance of early childhood education and educating the parents, the educators, the adults in the child environment. And I'm an advocate for the Montessori philosophy, but one downside of the philosophy that it needs rigorous training, it needs time investment, financial investment to be able to apply it into your environment or into your home. And because of that, so many parents, so many educators miss out on implementing it, even though they believe in it, but it's too hard. So my last venture was I was the homeschool program manager of a Montessori school, and I was working with hundreds of families and micro school leaders. And unfortunately, that program had to shut down. And I saw the impact that it had on all of these families and all of these children and the support that was providing. So I saw that gap and I felt the drive that I want to make sure that I bring that better because I've seen the pain points. I've seen what are the things that can be improved to make the philosophy and to make the curriculum more accessible. And that's when I started Koni. Koni is uh, it is an Arabic word, Koni, which means cosmic education. And the way I'm building that platform, it's a startup that um, will leverage the technology that we have today to make sure that knowledge is accessible to as many people as possible. So this will act as a coach, a Montessori coach or educational coach for your child, learning about what your child needs and telling you exactly what to do on the day of, uh, how to do it, how to set it up, what materials you're going to need, and what to look for. And this will help many people, whether parents who just like to implement the Montessori method into their home and how to set up their environment, homeschooling parents who would want to go through the whole scope and sequence of the curriculum. I also meet a lot of parents who opt out of childcare or daycare, preschools, and they hire an au pair, in-house au pair, or a nanny or a babysitter. But usually they don't come trained or they don't have educational background. So Kony will help aid the adult in the child's environment and provide that consistency between the parent and the babysitter on what to, how to make this a thriving experience. My third user that I'm working with is micro school leaders. Like you mentioned, there's
Mhm.
an influx, an increase in homeschooling and micro schools, especially after COVID. And just I see a lot of passionate individuals who see that there has to be a disruption in the educational system, but they don't know how. So having that tool will help them get started. Having that tool will help guide them. And because of the turnover that we see a lot in teachers, especially in the early childhood, the one that gets influenced at the end or affected is the child. So having that tool at hand can help provide stability and continuity between the adults. So for example, a new teacher is in class, she's still in training, can log onto Koni and know exactly what to do, how to do it with that specific child instead of waiting until, learn about the child and go through the training. And there's a lot of missed opportunities in the middle. So we are working now on the prototype and we're hoping to launch soon. I'm very excited. This is a whole new world for me. I've been very transparent about that. I've been an educator all my adult life. I'm an educator, family facing, child facing, teacher facing. So this is a whole new world for me to enter that ed tech world, the
Mhm.
business world. That was not in my roadmap at all, but I see a need and I see the drive. I have the drive to make that happen.
Okay, you started off. This is so interesting to hear, so amazing. And I'm looking forward to hear more and see, not just hear, to witness the launch and success of Koni and uh, your success. And I think you started off with saying we need to follow the child. I'll tell you, follow your heart with where you, because where you want to be. In We've learned throughout my life, I've learned that, and many others similar to me, we've learned that we plan. You said it's not in your cards, but each and every phase of our lives provides us with a window, an opportunity to actually follow our passion. And your passion definitely is supporting the child through supporting the adults. So I'm looking forward to hearing more and witnessing how your story will grow. Nasma, is there
Exactly.
anything else that you want to mention I didn't ask or touch upon?
Well, I just want to thank you for this amazing opportunity and the encouragement. It means a lot to me coming from you.
Not at
And
all.
yeah, and I'm very excited for future collaborations
Awesome.
and what's coming next.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks a lot for your time and more opportunities for discussions. Anybody who's interested in talking with Nasma and seeing what's happening, connect with her on edubridges.